I want to get into one of my favorite subjects, lateralization of function. And in this case, we're speaking of the two hemispheres. Generally speaking, the two hemispheres, the left, overwhelmingly responsible in most people for naming objects, for verbal capacity, for reasoning and logic, for sort of analytical things. The right hemisphere, holistic things, recognizing faces, recognizing intent, etc., artistic ability. These two hemispheres are connected by a large neural structure known as the corpus callosum. In rare cases, that corpus callosum is severed with an operation, and the reason is to calm epileptic seizures that can be overwhelming for the person. It's fairly rare. I don't know how many people in the whole country have the surgery done, but it's effective. It helps these people that are struggling so greatly with these seizures. Now, is there anything that surgery might reveal in these people on brain functioning if they elect to participate in an experiment? Well, as I've asked you to do, there's a 10-minute clip, maybe it's 11, from Scientific American Frontiers. I think you'll find it fascinating. It's 21 years old now, 22 years old, but it shows a patient, or I should say a research participant, that had this surgery. So the studies of split brain patients like Joe, to detecting differences in cognition between so-called split brain patients and those of us with an intact corpus callosum, investigators designed special tasks. For instance, in this case, this is one of the most rudimentary things, but it invokes this idea of the left and right hemispheres in their naming capacity, and it also draws on the contralateral nature of our arrangement in our left and right hemispheres. For example, this person had a severed corpus callosum. He's holding glasses, but he does not recognize them because he can't see them. And the reason is the glasses are in his left hand, communicating with his right parietal lobe. And that's where the information reaches a dead end. There is no naming capacity in the right hemisphere as it traverses from the left hand, and therefore he can't name the object. In a person with an intact corpus callosum, the glasses signal goes from the left hand to the right parietal lobe, instantly to the left hemisphere, and is instantly named within a millisecond or two. When that connection is broken, the signal is marooned or isolated on the right side where there is no naming capacity. And again, the arrangement is contralateral: left hand, right brain, right hand, left brain. And it's a fascinating effect that's observed with split brain patients. And if you'll indulge me, the same sort of result was obtained in tasks that required intermodal integration going from vision to touch and vice versa. When a sample word such as pencil, etc., was presented in the left visual field or held by the left hand, but not the right, could be used to search out, I got lost there. But not the right, could be used to search out the described correct matching object by touch from among an array of others, all shielded from vision. In such instances, when the stimulus and the matching answer were both presented exclusively to the right hemisphere, which is isolated from the left, the subjects or the participants remained unaware of the given stimulus and response selection because it was marooned on the right side, just as we're seeing. After making a correct manual response, they would commonly describe that the selected object as some totally unrelated item that was essentially a guess. Now, you'll see this with Joe. Joe has things presented to his left visual field on a computer that is marooned on the right side, and he can't name it. He can't establish what it is because it's in his left visual field communicating to the right side. On the other hand, when it's on the right visual field, it connects to his left brain, which has the naming capacity, and he names it instantly. Now, there's an analog too. He'll actually draw an object and only then recognize it. He'll get confused, draw it on a piece of paper. Oh, that's what it is, etc. But when something gets marooned on the right side here, so here, I'm going to start with in such instances. In such instances, when the stimulus and the matching answer were presented exclusively to the right hemisphere, the participants, we'd say, remained unaware of the given stimulus and response selection and simply could not name it. So now another thing that Joe will show, and I hope you enjoy this, is one of the best clips I ever show in class for the general psychology and the cognitive psychology classes. You'll see that of this split brain phenomena with Joe. It's pretty direct. It's a 10-minute clip, well produced. The Scientific American Frontiers is really good. But you'll also see something else. Joe, in an experiment that was done live, quote unquote, 22 years ago, sees these Arcimboldo paintings. Now, Arcimboldo is a weird guy. He lived at the exact same time as William Shakespeare, and he had an odd occupation. He sold his paintings well, I think, in which he made human faces out of books and produce and trees and what have you. And here's an example. This is what I surmise to be a male face, middle age. He looks to be smiling, and he has maybe some sort of military outfit on. My right hemisphere is telling me those things, I think. But I can see componentially that he's made of produce. I see a pumpkin and some squashes and some cherry tomatoes and, I don't know, maybe some cabbage or what have you. See some flowers in his chest. All of those things. But you can see it's a very coherent face. He does a really good job with it. And he's some of his other ones are much better than this. They're really, really quite fascinating. But it's my right hemisphere that's telling me it's a face, and it tells me the gender, what I think is the gender, and it tells me the emotion. The left hemisphere tells me all the components, all the produce that's making up his face. Now, if this painting here, was presented off to my left hemisphere only and made contact, or I'm sorry, my left visual field. It's off to my left visual field and made contact with my right hemisphere. And I had a split brain. I had that severed corpus callosum. I could easily identify the holistic aspects, the gender, the smile, the age maybe. I think this person's in his 50s. On the other hand, as we'll see with Joe, when the image is presented off to the right visual field and connects with the left hemisphere, he tends to name only the components, the produce or the books or what have you that the faces are made of, because it doesn't have that holistic property that the right hemisphere does. So it's kind of a cool live experiment. Again, it's neatly contained within 10 minutes there at Dartmouth, but these experiments are hard to do because there are not a lot of people that have these attributes. There are very few people proportionally that have had a severed corpus callosum, and those that do may volunteer for research. Now, I'm not even sure if Joe's still with us. He looked to be about mid-40s in this clip, so that would only put him mid-60s now, so I guess it's possible. The researcher, Michael Gazzaniga, had a female participant for a while in the 70s that passed away unexpectedly. So they're very generous with their time. And it's these case studies are really valuable for that region. So anyway, thank you for listening. By the way, that should say he. Oh, Lord. How he evaluated Arcimboldo paintings. But yes, please watch that Scientific American Frontiers clip on a split brain patient, Joe. Please take note of his ability to identify objects in the left and right visual field and how he evaluated these Arcimboldo paintings. I think you'll really enjoy it.